You are listening to Inspiring Table Talks with Kalpita and Vidya. While she's the person who could give you 20/20 vision, this optometrist opted out to stay and take on the role of home executive full-time. She's the recipient of the South African Parenting Blog Award and Best New Voice in the Blogging Space, who is passionate about photography, writing, and helping people.
Our guest on this episode is Kajal Maharaj, also known as Kajal of All Trades and the Hangry Mum on Instagram. We are so excited to be speaking to this local Durban powerhouse. Welcome, Kajal, to Inspiring Table Talks.
Hi, Kalpita and Vidya. It's so lovely to be on your show today.
It's such an honor to have you on the show, and we're extremely grateful for you coming on the show to talk to us. Kajal, I'm going to jump straight into this. I think the best place, firstly, we love how you've created an online presence. You inspire mums, whether they're young or old, everywhere. But perhaps out of my own curiosity, what I want to ask you is, when exactly or which moment was it that you decided to put your optom practice pause and fully give yourself executive, and also what preparation did that take for you emotionally to prepare for this change, full-time career into full-time stay-home mom?
Well, it wasn't an easy decision because I was essentially running my own practice that I'd built up for 5 years, doing something that I was passionate about. And at some stage, if you're giving that up, you feel like you're giving up some of your identity. But my pregnancy with my daughter was a very high-risk one. And we decided that I would spend some time at home with the kids. So each year, I say I'm going back next year, but it's been over 5 years now and it still hasn't happened yet. So I don't know if or when it will happen because I'm actually really loving being at home, to be honest. And I just think it's important to know when it's the right time, and I don't regret the decision for 1 minute. No.
Well, as someone who is reshaping her identity based on the roles you play, how did you feel when you received the Best New Voice Blogging Award?
Well, it's always great to be recognized for the work you do. But that being said, I don't necessarily write particularly to win an award. I write as a form of expression and to document my days and emotions. But I also write in the hope that others may identify with my thoughts and maybe find some kind of solidarity in them. But yes, I've always had a great fondness for writing, and it definitely was a feeling of accomplishment for me.
Okay, and do you maybe feel more pressured now with your life being on social media? Or what are some of the pressures that come with being a parent who's in the public eye?
Well, for now, I don't really feel pressured because I do feel like I have a great community of women behind me that aren't judgmental. But obviously, you do have to tread carefully. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You don't want to insult anyone. You don't want to come across as people thinking that you know everything about parenting, because trust me, none of us know what we're doing. It's just, I think it's important to just be mindful of everybody's feelings when you're in a public space.
Because you also on your own journey and experience, you don't perhaps know everything. You're learning as much as your child is learning. So it's kind of a journey for both of you.
Absolutely.
So I feel I love the way you write. You have a very natural, authentic way and very relatable style of writing. But what stood out for me was the letter that you wrote to your son. The title alone was so clear, where you firstly acknowledged that you're of Indian origin, but you are South African.
Yes.
Which already tells me, there's that cultural playback that goes on in your mind as you write. But what I loved so much about it is that you wrote about him or you wrote to him, but you wrote about the molds of society and how important it is for him to understand that it's just gender-based.
Yes.
They depend on, cooking is a skill, for example, you need to have irrespective, and you tell him in the letter. But can you share a bit of that letter with us? And as a mom of a daughter, how important is this message that you write to your son in how it could impact him going forward?
Well, let's be honest. I think in general can be very judgmental, but I think South African society in particular has its own set of issues. And I wanted to write something so that one day he could refer to this as a kind of reminder that my love for him really is unconditional. And, regardless of the expectations that come from outside. And I think, the patriarchy in society is so entrenched that it really is important to empower our sons with the knowledge that this is not how they should be or how much of a difference they can make going forward.
So I think, we're also moving into a generation where a lot of our youth are starting to live alone or travel a lot more abroad, not necessarily with a companion, So it boils down to being self-sufficient in every way, not just limiting it to finances.
Absolutely.
I feel that your style of parenting is very conscious and you're very open about it, and you write openly about it on your blog and on your Instagram page. But do you believe that there are some similarities or differences in your parenting approach as compared to your upbringing?
Most definitely. Not that my parents did a bad job, if I may say so myself. I think I turned out okay. But I'm sure you'd agree, and obviously this is just a general observation, but Indian parents, they often seem to have this kind of helicopter style of parenting. And that means sort of hovering around our kids without giving them too much of a chance to fall and get up by themselves, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, as you've said, I have been really conscious and really intentional in trying to move away from this and just giving my kids a chance to figure things out for themselves and make their own mistakes and learn from them. So I'm also the type of parent that doesn't like to overly shelter my kids. They do believe in Santa and the Tooth Fairy, for example, but I won't lie to them about things like death. Obviously, I'll explain it to them in a gentle way for them to understand, but I prefer to just not shelter them completely.
Which is great, especially because there's so much of information available to you out there today. It's important that when it comes to death, when it comes to health, sexual health, mental health, we talk about this openly.
I just prefer for them to hear it from me than anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. So it's kind of like a friendship and a parent, like you parents but your friends in a way, which is really cool.
Too. Yeah, we have to set some boundaries.
True.
Yeah, I think it's important what you said, to also give them their space and to let them grow in their own space with their own view on life. But on a lighter note, we've seen crazy fun and angry moments are some of the perks of you staying at home as a mom. Can you share with us your most fun memories during this lockdown period that you've shared with your family?
So, well, the best memories are usually for me the subtle ones that happen every day, And sure, like their first steps and their first teeth and things are very special. But the ones that bring me the most joy are just overhearing them play together and the imaginary names they call each other. And, when my daughter pretends to know how to read and then she creates this amazing story. And yeah, those are the most priceless moments for me.
That's sweet. I think we've all done that growing up at some point. So it's kind of cute that you get to see this now.
And I try to show them, but they never really work out.
I guess some things are just meant for the moment. They don't make it to the camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Not everything makes it there because so many of these moments are just spontaneous, and obviously we don't have our phones in our hands all the time. And it's also important to just be present sometimes.
And that brings me to another important topic, which is that, well, being a parent and while you're blogging and all of this is sort of out there, there are also things that we don't see. And those include some of the days which are perhaps not so great, right?
Yeah.
The days where it is a bit of a struggle. I don't think being a parent is easy. I've never heard any parent or my own parents say, wow, being a parent is such a breeze.
Definitely not.
But exactly. So what are some of your favorite tools that you use on these days where you feel a bit more under the weather, or you feel like you're being too hard on yourself?
So I think it's really important to just give yourself some grace and allow yourself to be human and allow yourself to make mistakes. And I think that, just sometimes just taking a step back from the situation and viewing it from a different perspective can be really helpful. And also just taking a minute to give everyone a chance to reset. And I think that goes a long way as well. And also never underestimate the power of a good cry.
Yeah.
So it just releases some of the energy and everybody is reset and ready to go.
I love that you spoke about that, because so often parents have this belief that they need to put up a strong face and not show the emotional side to their kiddies, especially when they're so young. So I'm so
I think it's important to do the opposite, because our children need to know that having emotion is healthy and showing emotion is healthy because it helps them deal with their feelings better.
Speaking of feelings, I know it's been sort of a challenging time for you. While we've all been in this pandemic together, for your family, your husband, worker, writing, or you started to write about your Corona diaries.
Yes.
What exactly was your experience like when your family was affected by this virus so directly? In a nutshell, what was that experience like for you? How did you guys cope? What are some of the things that have helped you through this?
Well, I think obviously, as you said, it's been a really difficult time for everybody right now, but obviously as a healthcare worker, they do see a lot of this firsthand. And so it can really affect their general disposition, especially at home. So I've just had to provide the support wherever he's needed it and however I can, because, the mental and physical load, it's really demanding. And obviously, because he has had the experience himself, when he was positive, the best that you can do is not panic and just take each day as it comes. And, you just need to do what you need to do. A lot of people have supported me saying how strong I am, etc. But at the end of the day, you just have to do what you need to do and be positive and still try and keep the mood in your home upbeat and positive, so that, the anxiety doesn't spill over to your kids too much, because they're so sensitive to it.
Yeah, I think there's so much fear surrounding the coronavirus, and
absolutely,
some days lots of people, if someone's not feeling well, you do tend to get anxious and the worst. But like you said, it's very important to stay positive and keep yourself healthy mentally.
For sure. I think the mental aspect of this is being ignored a lot, and I think it's really important to focus on it, as well as the physical well-being.
So Kajal, as a mother of a young lady, what words of wisdom would you give her, considering the culture and the society that we live in? Some words of wisdom for her to become the best version of herself.
Well, women have it hard. I mean, we just do, especially in our society. We have so many issues to overcome, and not just in South Africa, but globally. And in Indian society, especially, as I said before, the patriarchy is so deeply entrenched. It can actually be such a struggle for Indian women to be the best versions of themselves. And our daughters, they're just going to need strong role models who will mentor them to break the mold. and we just have to support them so that they feel safe doing it. With my, I've made an effort to encourage her independent thinking and her strong personality. And although she's 4, she's very assertive. And as hard as it is to parent her because of it, I would like to think that this is the strong-willed nature that will prevent her from being put into a box in future.
When, like, as a parent, you tend to want to shelter them instinctively.
Absolutely.
But that's where, again, it goes back to, again, you being the conscious parent and you saying, look, I know it's going to be a bit of a struggle for me right now, but I know it's going to forward. So
if there was one piece of advice that I'd give her, it would definitely be, don't dim your light to make others comfortable.
Yeah, and lastly, Kajal, we'd just like to ask you, what is your message for all the full-time home executive moms out there?
Okay, well, I think just like you're teaching your daughters to be themselves and to not to be put into a box, you yourselves need to do this because your job is so important. I mean, if not the most important. And never allow anyone to make you feel inadequate just because you don't bring home a paycheck. Because what you do is worth so much. And also just remember who you are, because mother is not your only identity. Remember what you love and what makes you happy, and just never be afraid to or feel guilty for doing these things.
We know you make a lot of good foods. You share a lot of good recipes on the Hangry Mom. If people would like to contact you, how can they get hold of you and where can they contact you?
Okay, so my most active platform is in Instagram. As you said, my handle is Kajal of All Trades. And then also my recipe page is The Hangry Mom. And then my email addresses can be accessed from there as well. And then I have a Facebook page as well and a blog website. If you Google Kajal of All Trades, it should all come up.
So we'll share all of the links to your different blogging pages and your Instagram handle and Facebook page on Anchor and Instagram. But for now, we would thank you, Kajal, for coming. We really enjoyed chatting with you, and keep doing the amazing job you're doing because you're awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks very much for the chat, ladies. I really had a great afternoon chatting to you. And take care and stay safe.
Thank you for listening to Inspiring Table Talks.
And remember to favorite Inspiring Table Talks on Anchor, as well as to follow us on Instagram at inspiring.tabletalks.
And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, you can email us at contactkpv108@gmail.com.